What is going on, everyone? My name's Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today it's the Game Week preview series, this time for Game Week 13, of course. Plenty to talk about. Pochettino has literally been sacked about an hour before I sit down to record this video. Also going to be looking at Maddison versus Tielemans, Captaincy, and then a load of other bits that you guys have put to me on YouTube and Twitter. So before we jump into that, I did want to say the video has kindly been sponsored once again by OneFootball. It's a completely free app that if you've not already checked out, you should do. Like I say, no harm in trying it out when it's free, seeing what you think. Just search for OneFootball in Android or iOS stores, or click the link in the description below and that'll take you straight through. So make sure to check it out. Let me know what you think. I know a lot of people have downloaded it and been loving it. It's completely free, so no hassle if it's not something you enjoy later on. Otherwise, let's jump into this one. So I want to talk about the breaking news first. Pochettino been sacked. Obviously, by the time you watch this video, it's no longer breaking news, but it's pretty big for the world of FPL. Obviously, when a big change like this happens, we want to know how it's going to affect the players. Are they now going to be worth it? Are they going to be worth even less than they were before? Obviously, not many of us have been looking at Spurs players this season, perhaps in patches, but the majority of us not for most of the season. Obviously, there's potential for new manager bounce, but Pochettino's been there for a long time. A big favourite of the fans. I don't think the fans, for the majority, are happy with this. I think obviously it's come down to results, and this season has not been good enough, but this is a manager that got them to the Champions League final last year, went 18 months without being able to sign a player, so he's done really well for Spurs, pretty much a top 4 team since he's been there. So this is going to be a big change. Whether the players want this or not, obviously we don't know, but we could see some new manager bounce. We saw it with Solskjaer last year with Man United. Suddenly, Man United options, which we never even considered for pretty much the whole season. Suddenly Pogba was banging them in, Rashford looked good as well. And obviously, depending on which manager comes in, could mean other parts of the team are worth investing in. For example, Mourinho's name's now going to be touted around. Will they bring him in? I don't know. Obviously, we know he's a bit of a short-term manager. Is that what they need right now? A little bit of stability, get the points back in, and make sure that kind of top 4 position is solidified? Perhaps. But if he comes in, maybe the defence is then a better option. So what I would say is don't hold any biases towards Spurs players. Whatever you kind of know about them or feel about them this year, you know, will Kane be value now? Probably not. I still think he'd have to do quite a lot to be worth 11 million. But at some point he might be worth it. Son, someone that I do like. I think he's a pretty good price, although obviously it is similar to De Bruyne and Vardy and co, so it's hard to fit him in. But he could be a decent option at some point now. And we'll have to see how the team gets set up. Maybe the likes of Lucas Moura, whoever it might be, play themselves into the team and become a permanent fixture. So fixture-wise over Christmas, kind of from now right up until Christmas, they've got some pretty good fixtures. They're not perfect. They play some top 6 teams in there, but they're decent enough overall. And it's the kind of fixtures where a manager could turn things around. So I will not be looking to bring in Spurs players straight away, but I will be keeping a close eye on them. And perhaps the likes of Ericsson or Ali or whoever it might be could become value. So we need to keep an eye on this. Obviously, it's too hard or it's too soon to tell what's going to happen. We need to know what manager's coming in as well. But keep an eye on Spurs. They could be worth some FPL points soon. Right, I know I have talked a lot about Leicester in recent videos, especially midfielders, but we're going to do it again. Maddison versus Tielemans in particular came up quite a lot when I asked people on YouTube and Twitter what kind of questions and topics they want to cover in. And it's a decision that I'm making this week as well. I'm probably going to bring in one of these two. So I've been thinking about it quite a lot. So if you look at the two players, 7.5 million for Maddison, 6.7 for Tielemans. So quite a big difference, 0.8 million. In terms of points, very close. 62 points for Maddison, 57 for Tielemans. I think if you paid kind of close to $1 million less for 5 less points over 12 game weeks, you'd be pretty happy with that. Looking at the last 4 matches that they've played, obviously these are pretty much nailed on players as well. 5 shots in the box for Tielemans and 3 for Maddison. So they're not actually, both of them kind of really high up in those kind of stats in terms of goal threat from inside the box. Obviously you can score goals from long range, we know that. We've seen it from these two before, but most of the players are going to get most of their goals from inside the box. So 5 shots in the box for Tielemans and 3 for Maddison the last 4. Not really amazing from either player. In terms of chances created, it's 10 for Tielemans and 13 for Maddison. So I think that's actually quite interesting considering that Maddison has kind of free kicks and corners to fall back on, which Tielemans doesn't. So he's quite high up still with chances created. And in terms of expected assists, it's not too far away. In fact, in terms of expected goals and assists, again, over the last 4 game weeks, they're not doing amazingly well between them. So you got expected assists for Tielemans is 0.42. And 0.32 expected goals, so not even 1 expected goals and assists combined. And Maddison is 0.85 for expected assists and 0.36 for expected goals. So again, they're both pretty poor, to be fair. But we know they're a team in general that are in form, and obviously the fixtures are there as well. So Brighton away, Everton at home, Watford at home, Villa away and Norwich at home. Plenty of teams that concede in plenty of shots. Brighton away, we're going to talk about that with captaincy with Vardy. I think it's probably quite a tough fixture. Brighton have done okay at home, but they're going to be missing Dunk, going to be missing Webster probably as well. Then it's kind of 3 home games in the next 4 and matches against Villa and Norwich. So pretty decent. I think given the 0.8 million difference at this point, I probably am leaning towards Tielemans. I think he gets almost as many shots in the box, if not more, than Maddison. So goal threat potentially slightly higher, even though expected goals are very similar. And still got opportunities to create chances from open play. Obviously, Maddison does have free kicks and corners to fall back on. And if you think that's worth a 0.8 million premium, then you should absolutely go for him. If you're not worried about money, then you should. Of course, money is always a problem in FPL, even if you've got a ton of it. I think the likes of Perez and Barnes, good prices, but I just think in terms of minutes and absolute guaranteed to play week in, week out, I wouldn't be so sure about that. So yes, as a punt, if you absolutely can't afford these two. But it's got to be one of these two. I was initially drawn towards Maddison, but I think the 0.8 million saving would lead me towards Tielemans. But both pretty good options and very, very similar. I don't think there's too much to decide between them, to be honest. So I think this is a good week for captaincy because I don't think there's a massively standout. You absolutely have to go for that player option this week. I think there's good options all around and you can kind of take your pick. So talking about the players that I've kind of discounted, you've got Manchester United versus Sheffield United away. I just think Sheffield United have been so good defensively. I think Man United have got a chance of nicking that. Maybe it's my bias. I think they, 1 or 2 goals could happen, but would they absolutely smash the Sheffield United is probably unlikely to happen. So wouldn't want to captain the likes of Martial and Rashford in that. West Ham versus Spurs. Now initially I had this down as a no for Spurs. Yes, obviously West Ham poor defensively, but it is a derby. You just don't know if West Ham are going to turn it on and make Spurs, kind of struggle to score. But with new manager bounce, although we don't know if a manager will be in place for this game again, it was a pretty weird timing to sack Pochettino considering they've had the whole international break. Maybe Son or Kane if you own them could be good options. But I think for now I'd like to see what's going to happen there. Differential potentially Richarlison, but I'm not sure too many of us own him to consider him seriously. So looking at the players we've got Vardy versus Brighton away. He's currently my captain. 12 big chances all season, only behind the likes of Sterling, Wood, Aguero and Abraham. So right up there in terms of strikers. Obviously Leicester, like I said, for Maddison and Tielemans in such good form, it really is hard to bet against them. He's also had no game over the international break, so fully rested and kind of ready to go for this game as well. Brighton are 5th for shots conceded in the box in last 4, so not doing too well. But when you look at home matches, they're actually the 3rd best team in terms of shots conceded in the box, which is a little bit worrying as a Vardy captain, I have to say. But Dunk is suspended, as I said. Webster looks like he's probably going to be injured as well. So they're a little bit short at centre-back, which will obviously kind of spur on the likes of Maddison, Tielemans and Vardy and think they can really attack the centre-backs that are playing and hopefully do some damage. And obviously Vardy very good at getting in behind and Maddison and Tielemans very good at playing him in behind. So I don't think that Brighton are necessarily going to get smashed. I don't think that necessarily matters either. Obviously, we saw 12 points from Vardy in the last game, 1 goal, 1 assist. He doesn't necessarily need 2 or 3 goals to clock up the points. So I still think he's a good captain option, but I don't think he's maybe a standout as he has been in other games. I think Brighton away will be pretty tough. Mane or Salah versus Palace away. When you look at the stats, it's actually quite interesting. So I looked at the last 4 matches. Mane's created 10 chances. Salah's only created 4. And before, you'd see Salah as the creative one. In terms of shots, Salah's still quite far ahead. 19 shots versus 9 for Mane. 13 of those coming in the box. All 9 of Mane's were in the box as well. Although expected goals are very similar. So in terms of kind of quality of chances, they're getting similar chances. I think from Salah's point of view, he's the one I own. I still have some concerns over that ankle, though he has played a good few minutes over the last few game weeks, and obviously in Europe as well, and has missed the international break because of this ankle thing. Now, you could say that that's a recurring problem now and be worried about it, but you could also say Liverpool have just used that as an excuse to get him out of the Egypt team. Potentially what's happened. We'll have to see what Klopp says. Now, Crystal Palace are one of those teams that I would usually say you don't want to captain a player away from home, but they've conceded the 3rd most shots in the last 4 matches, and they're 6th for shots conceded in the box at home as well. So probably not doing as well as we usually think they would do, but they are a team that I think under Hodgson can be organised when they want to be, and they will make it tough for Liverpool. So again, I think Mane and Salah are good options, especially Mane because he's fully fit. no ankle injury or anything like that. But again, I don't think there's any standout, and I think that's going to be a common theme in this captaincy. There's just no massive standout. So I think Mane's a good option, probably slightly better than Vardy, but I don't think there's a huge amount in it. Sterling versus Chelsea. I think defensively, to be fair, Chelsea not conceding too many shots in the box. Away from home, obviously they're away to Man City this week. 44 shots conceded in the box so far this season, away from home. That's only 2 more than Man City, 7 more than Leicester, so they're not doing too bad. Obviously, Kante's back now as well, which is good. You'd expect City to fight back after going 9 points behind Liverpool and obviously losing that game. And you'd imagine that Man City will score in this game. I think the big difference between maybe Man City and Leicester is if Leicester score, you'd be pretty confident that Vardy is involved. With Man City, they've got players all over the place that can score. So will they smash Chelsea? I'm not sure about that. Will they get 1, 2, maybe even 3 goals? Probably. And Sterling will probably be involved in that. But is he going to kind of score 2 or 3? Everyone that remembers back to last season, they did smash Chelsea at home 6-0. I'm just not sure that's going to happen this season. So as someone that sold Sterling, I am a little bit worried this week. I do think it's a good fixture for him. And again, I do think he's a good captaincy option. I'm just not sure they're going to batter Chelsea as much as people probably think. And then last up, quickly talk about Aubameyang and Lacazette. It's a pretty good fixture against Southampton. The fixture is good, but are the players good? I think Lacazette is a bit of a differential. If you look over the last 4 game weeks, Lacazette's had 11 shots in the box. Aubameyang's only had 3. 3 shots in the box in 4 games is poor. Obviously, when Lacazette plays, he plays central. Aubameyang goes out wide. And I think this is one of those games that you look at the fixture and you definitely would want to captain a player in it. I'm just not sure it's Lacazette or Aubameyang the way Arsenal are playing right now. So for me, Vardy, Mane, and probably Sterling looking the best options. I would favour Mane if I had him, but I've got Vardy. He's the one I'm going to go for. So just a few other bits that I'm not going into as much detail on, but people did ask me. So Lundstram fear, should you play Lundstram out of fear and ownership and stuff like that? And I think you just have to play him on merit, basically. Sheffield United, least goals conceded so far this season. Playing a Man United team that have done well recently, to be fair, but have struggled this season to score goals in general, perhaps. So I think it's a good fixture to play him. I think there's potential for attacking returns, potential for a clean sheet. I wouldn't necessarily want to play a player just because of how much ownership he had. But obviously, his ownership is very high, and that is going to hurt if he hauls and you don't have him. Is he going to haul against Man United? I would say probably not, but the chance of getting some points definitely there. So I think, think to yourself, if he was 5 or 6 million, would you play him in this fixture? You probably would. So the fact that you've probably got him for 4 million shouldn't play too much on your mind. Someone asked me about countering the template. Now, probably not going to have enough time to go in this video to fully go into this question, but it's basically countering the template over Christmas. My initial thoughts with any template question is, do you need to counter it? If you've got a fairly template team and you're doing okay, do you need to make changes just because? And if you're far behind in the ranks, remember again, I've said this a few times, the points separating ranks are still quite close together, so don't panic too much. I mean, I'm ranked 655k, and I'm not yet panicking. Maybe after Christmas, if I'm still in the same position, then it'll be time to worry. But I think you just have to keep picking the players you think are going to do well. Ignore ownership. If there's a player with 50% ownership, but you think over the next 4 weeks they're going to absolutely smash it, bring them in. Don't worry about the template so much. We spend too much time worrying about who everyone else owns, and obviously it is a game with only limited options. And eventually, if you need to climb up, and 90% of the top 10k own Mane, you want to go different. Maybe you go Salah. Personally, I just don't think this is the time to be doing it. So, countering the template, I guess my advice is don't worry about it too much. Best front 3, I've got Vardy, Jimenez, Abraham. I think that's pretty good. You could go for Rashford. The one maybe slight issue I have with Rashford is you can get Martial for cheaper and stick him in midfield. Now, Rashford potentially a little bit less injury prone than Martial, but Rashford does cost more money. So I think for now, the best front 3 is the one I've got. I'm pretty happy with it. Vardy, Jimenez, Abraham, but that could change. Maybe Kane comes back into our thinking. Maybe Aubameyang will smash it, or Lacazette. They've got really good fixtures over the next 3 or 4 game weeks, but right now I still like that one. And a few people thinking about a Richarlison punt. They play Norwich. I think the one thing for him, you don't know if he's going to play up front or on the left. I don't know if that really matters too much, but just consider this. If you haven't got him in your team, then it's 1 transfer to get him in and 1 to get him out. Because if you look at Everton's fixtures after Norwich, they are awful. So is he worth a 2 transfer bet, basically, that he's going to score points against Norwich? He probably will, but will he get enough? If you consider that each transfer is worth 4 points, that's essentially 8 points almost that you're paying to get him in and out. Unless you're going to captain him, I just don't think the amount of points in a ceiling is going to be too high. Sure, if he gets a hat-trick, you're coming on for 20 points from midfield, that's really good, but I just don't see it happening. So for me, Maybe in like a daily fantasy game, really good option, but to bring him in and take him straight back out, not for me. So that is it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought of what I said. Do you disagree, agree? Are there any other questions you've got going into Game Week 13? And obviously, if you did enjoy the video, a like is always appreciated. Subscribe if you're new around here. Hit that notification bell so you know when all the next lot of videos are going live. There will be a live stream tomorrow, 9 o'clock, as usual on this channel. So answering all your questions live and all that good stuff, and then we'll carry on with the normal videos again next week. Once again, if you've not already tried OneFootball, completely free app, Android, iOS stores, just search for it on the store itself or click the link in the description below. Otherwise, I will leave it there. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will catch you next time. Cheers all.